The Supreme Court ruled unanimously on Thursday that 3 Muslim men may seek monetary damages from government agents who put them on the no-fly list after they refused to become informants for the FBI. The court ruled in the men's favor after they alleged that in 2013 they were asked to spy on their friends and fellow mosque congregants in the New York area. They refused, saying doing so would violate their religious beliefs. After refusing, they found out they were placed on the no-fly list, preventing them from traveling inside the country for work or seeing loved ones abroad. They are seeking damages under a law providing relief from government actions that burden religious liberty. Noor Tagouri joins us now. She is a journalist and producer at the production company At Your Service. Noor, welcome. Great to have you with us. So this Supreme Court case focuses, great to have you, these 3 specific people. But the general experience of government surveillance is not all that uncommon for Muslim Americans, correct?
Absolutely not. It has happened for almost 20 years now, wrongfully, unjustly, and it is a form of further stigmatizing our community, isolating people, and making them feel coerced into something that they don't want to be involved in, clearly, and more alone.
And you are 27 years old, correct? You wrote recently you don't remember a pre-9/11 America. Explain for us what many Muslim people in this country have had to go through to be considered Americans by others.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I'm 27 years old. I was born in West Virginia, lived in Alabama, grew up in Southern Maryland. I was born to 2 immigrant parents who came here from Libya. And I remember vaguely the day of 9/11 in 2001, of course. And I remember afterwards my mom, who wore the headscarf, just having this sense of worry in the town that we were living in. And I don't remember anything before that. I don't remember what it was like to be Muslim before that. I remember feeling ashamed of my identity, of my mom wearing the headscarf, worried about my dad. We lived in a rural town. And as I got older, I started traveling a lot more alone. And I realized how intense the security was at airports, how there was this perpetual level of anxiety that I would feel going to the airport. Even until now, pre-COVID, I was taking over 100 flights a year, and I had TSA pre or clear, and there was still this notion. And I remember hearing my great uncle, who lived in Oklahoma in the late 70s, talk about how he could just simply board a plane in a cowboy hat and carrying a gun, and there was not this this wild level of security because it didn't exist pre 9/11. And it's incredible to see this win with the Supreme Court ruling, but it's important for us to recognize that there are still thousands of American families who are impacted by the no-fly list or the terror watch list, both lists that are unconstitutional. And these lists have not only broken families apart, but it has caused more trauma for the Muslim American community post 9/11, and has continued to happen, especially going into the administration that we have currently, who has also created another list, the Muslim ban list. So there are so many ways that Muslim Americans have been put in these really uncomfortable and horrific situations.
And what are some of the ways you've seen politicians? I mean, you mentioned the Muslim country ban, but what are some of the other ways you've seen politicians feed into some of what you just described over the past 2 decades?
Well, I mean, the fact that we have the war on terror has really meant a war on Muslims, and the way that they have carried out the rhetoric around that. I think that more than just the politicians, it's also the way that Muslim Americans have been represented in the media. When you are watching a storyline like Homeland, where you see this idea of a Muslim, like terrorist or somebody cooperating with the government and constantly having this terrorism storyline, it's really hard to kind of get out of that that representation cycle. We see shows like Rami that are on Hulu, that the show on Hulu that is created by a Muslim American who has Muslim American writers on it, and they have like this one. There's several ways that they've been dispelling Muslim stereotypes, but there's one scene where they have a Muslim, like an undercover FBI agent who comes into the mosque dressed as a Muslim, who's trying to talk to the young men there, and they just kind of brush it off like it's no big deal. But it was so representative of what so many people have dealt with in their mosques in the last 20 years. And it's so important for us to see the representation that is being told through the Muslim American lens, especially because Muslim Americans had to carry this burden of what happened on 9/11, even though it wasn't something that happened because of Muslim Americans. And the way that media and politics has continued to talk about Muslims, it's kind of always been this thing where you're always starting backwards. It's like when you meet somebody or you're going into a job interview or you're showing up at the airport, you're always having to prove this sense of Americanness. Like, are you American enough? Even when whether you're born here or you're a citizen or whatever it may be, you're always having to prove something. And so how do we expect people to feel comfortable in their identities, to embrace and engage within their communities? I had people reach out to me after the story who are talking about how they either haven't seen their parents or their parents weren't able to attend big life events because their dad was on the no-fly list for no apparent reason. And this is something that they're finding out. They're not given a notification that you're going to be put on this list. They find out when it's too late. And then the repercussions of it lead for many, many years afterwards. And so we have to continue talking about how to build bridges between the Muslim American community and other communities who may have consistently been fed misinformation, and how we delicately approach telling stories centered around Muslim Americans and actually bringing a more positive and clearer image of what our community and who our community is and how we are American too.
All right. Well, Noor Tagouri, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.